CBS News had a brief conversation with Frank Biden. Selfishly, I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left.
Whatever time we have left? Who says that about a man who isn't terminally ill? Now, let's address the elephant in the room, shall we? And the elephant is not a Republican, it's a Democrat. The elephant in this case is Joe Biden's health. And the fact that we have all seen for years and years and years the deterioration of this man mentally and physically, right up until the point where his last public appearance was getting onto and off of Air Force One when he was supposedly diagnosed with COVID. This was on Thursday of last week. He canceled a campaign event in Nevada, even though the crowd had already assembled in the room where it was supposed to take place. He got on Air Force One with his COVID positive diagnosis and flew not to the White House, where he would have 24/7 medical care right there in the White House facility near his residence. No, he went to Delaware, to his home there, to recover. And the last we saw of him was he was barely capable of getting into the SUV after Air Force One. He needed Secret Service agents to lift his legs to get him into that back seat. We haven't seen him since. The next thing we hear, after hearing his surrogates out there all weekend saying he is in, he's not going anywhere, he's got campaign events scheduled next week, and then inexplicably, out of the blue, we get this letter posted on his Twitter account, on his X account, and he's out. He's done. Then CBS News reported that they had spoken to the president's brother, not James, the one who's quite possibly facing major jail time for his corruption in the federal government. No, his brother Frank. You don't hear about Frank much. Here's what Frank Biden told CBS News.
CBS News had a brief conversation with Frank Biden, one of President Biden's two younger brothers. And here's what he told us. He said, I'm incredibly proud of my brother. Selfishly, I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left. He is a genuine hero. Country over self. It sounds corny in our cynical political environment, but he nor I are cynical. The goal remains the same: defeat Trump and continue the work that Joe has done. My hope is that our party rallies around this heroic act. We asked him whether he feels that his brother's overall health and vitality played a major role in this decision, and he says, in my humble opinion, absolutely. So a member of the president's family now confirming that the president's health was indeed a major factor in this decision, and calling his brother a hero for making the decision to pass the torch to Kamala Harris.
So, Nancy, sorry, can you clarify that the family is saying his health was or was not a factor?
He's saying that, in his humble opinion, yes, the president's health and vitality played a considerable role in his decision. It's important to note Frank Biden is not speaking for the family writ large. This was simply a conversation between CBS News and Frank Biden. Unclear how much input he had in this decision, but he says that he believes that his brother's health did play a role, and he says that the goal remains the same: to defeat Donald Trump.
Well, that is notable, because to date, the family, the White House, the establishment has rejected the premise that there was anything that was challenging the president's mental acuity or his health, and that all these accusations were baseless, that it was just age and a few, difficult nights like he had on the debate stage. So that is a change in message.
It is a change in message. And don't let yourself off the hook there, honey, because you and all of your colleagues in the media, all of you professional corporate legacy media types with your journalism degrees, which are oh so valuable these days, you bought it hook, line, and sinker. You never asked challenging questions. You never probed. You never actually reported on what you saw with your own eyes. We all saw it. We knew what was happening, and you never did. And now you dare to sit up there and say, well, this is a very different story here, what we're hearing from the family, or at least this one family member, Frank Biden. But listen again to this one part of the statement that he gave to CBS News, because it's jarring language.
Officially, I will have him back to enjoy whatever time we have left.
Whatever time we have left? Who says that about a man who isn't terminally ill? Yes, he's 81 years old, But if he's not suffering from any actual medical condition, why would you use language like whatever time we have left? Unless he's dying. I mean, we're all dying, but I mean, dying. Now, within hours of this report on CBS News, Dr. Jill and Hunter and other people surrounding the president with their hair lit on fire, they made sure that everybody knew that Frank Biden does not speak for them. Actually, let me rephrase that. It wasn't Dr. Jill, and it wasn't Hunter, and it wasn't anybody in the Biden family. It was the White House staff, who wanted to do damage control on this idea that Joe Biden isn't anything but the healthiest man you've ever seen. He rides bicycles after all, doesn't he? So they picked up the phone and called CBS News toot sweet and said, that Frank Biden guy, you can't listen to him. But then they went further. Watch this.
We got word, Nora, from the president's brother earlier today saying that the president's health, he believes, was a factor in his decision. But just a short time ago, I heard from a source close to the Biden family, and they said that Frank Biden, the president's younger brother, is an alcoholic, that he hasn't spoken to the president in weeks, and that the president's health had nothing to do with his decision to leave the race.
Dude, don't mess with the Biden crime family. You step out of line, and this is what they do to you. Frank Biden says that it was definitely the president's health that was a factor in this decision, and he went on to say that he's happy that he'll be able to have whatever time left they have together. What's that all about? Oh, Frank? You mean that drunk bastard? That drunk son of a bitch? That drunk motherfucker? Oh, no. You can't listen to a word that guy says. Boom. Oh, the Biden family, they're so tight. They're all full of love. They're America's family. I give you my word as a Biden. Oh, really? Like Frank Biden? Oh, no. Not that Biden. He's a drunk motherfucker. Yeah, you can't listen to him. Don't take his word. His word as a Biden doesn't count. So Joe Biden, last time he's seen publicly, he's leaving Nevada last week after getting diagnosed with COVID-19. But the last words out of his mouth is, I'm not going anywhere. I am in it to win it. I've got the delegates. In fact, when challenged and said, listen, there are elder statesmen in the party who are saying that you can't win, you should step down. And what did Joe Biden say about them? Oh, those elites. Well, I never listen to the elites. These are the same people who said I couldn't beat Trump. These are the same people who moved me out of the way to make way for Hillary. Last I checked, when they had their way, that's how we got Trump. These are the things that were said either by Joe Biden himself or on his behalf over the last several days. And by the way, you know who he's talking about when he says that? That's Barack Obama. They're not friends. The whole thing has been a charade. Charade? You know what I mean? This whole idea that Obama and Biden are bros is bull. And when Biden comes out and says, these elites, is there anyone more elite in the Democratic Party than Barack Obama? No. The answer is no. All right. So then the next thing we know, he gets shuffled off. He's got COVID. He's canceling all of his campaign appearances, and he's going to recover in Delaware, not in the White House where he's got a medical facility. Nope. He's going to Delaware. He's going to his home in Delaware. Then the next thing we know, this letter is produced. Now, there's some notable things about this letter. Let's blow it up here. First of all, it's not on White House letterhead or letterhead of the office of the President of the United States. And it's also not really on letterhead at all. I mean, I don't know about you, but if you have to write, who writes formal letters anymore or prints things, right? Everything's done through email. And so if you actually have to print out a formal letter, like a letter of recommendation or something, you have to go to Google Docs or Microsoft Word, and you have to create letterhead. That's what this looks like. This looks like somebody went to Microsoft Word and went up into the header and did a nice fancy font and put Joseph R. Biden Jr. as if this is his personal letterhead. Listen, it might be his personal letterhead. I'm just saying that's what it looks like. And then they wrote this letter that is clearly a letter that came out of a political communications shop. This is not a personal note. This is not a from the heart thing. This is a litany in 2 paragraphs of all the great work that they've done in the Biden administration, including, and I would like to say, it's notable that it says they have the strongest economy in the world. How does that feel? Does it feel strong to you? Historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors, and expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. You know that health insurance and health care costs more than it ever has. It costs 10 times more than it did when Obamacare was passed, but, Obamacare. And we've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances. You start listing out your achievements, and this is the best you can do in your very first paragraph describing what a great presidency you've had. That's not saying much. But then you finally get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Listen, while it's been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. Let me just tell you something. I don't think this was written by Joe Biden. Now, he may have approved it. Don't get me wrong. He may have approved it, but I don't think he wrote this. And I'll tell you why. Because Joe Biden, at the very least, is a very smart and savvy politician. He doesn't have a whole lot going for him, but I think he has one skill set. And that one skill set is that he knows how to bullshit. He knows how to lie. That's his skill set. He knows how to say the right thing when he needs to say the right thing. And Joe Biden, knowing what to say and what not to say, would have never, ever, ever said what I just read he is supposed to have said. Did you catch it? Let me read it to you again, and let me see if you can catch what I caught. I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. Did you catch it? Joe Biden, if he had written this himself, would never have put party literally in front of country in that paragraph. He never would have done it. I'm telling you. Now, he may have approved this letter, and he may have looked at it with blurry eyes or drug-addled eyes and missed that and didn't give him a correction. But in my opinion, that is a smoking gun right there. That this was, shall we say, a collaborative effort. Can we say that? Can we at least say this was a collaborative effort? All right. So you've got that part of the letter that is suspicious, to say the least. And then you've got the signature. Now, a lot of people have pointed this out, that this is definitely an automated signature, right? He didn't sign that, because I'm telling you, his hands right now are way shakier than this. We've seen it. But the underline, everybody's pointing to the underline. He doesn't underline his name when he signs his name. People have been looking. They're trying to find instances where he underlines his name. And this, am I going on a limb here, Kevin, with this? Because I've been trying to search for it, and I've been seeing tons of people, credible news sources, saying, yeah, this is not how he usually signs his name, right?
No, I think you're right. I've seen a handful of examples of people showing screenshots of his previous signatures, and it's never underlined.
Right. It's never underlined. Even the automated signature little machine thing that they use. So this thing gets produced. And I just want to be clear here on all the news reporting, and we've done it too, because it's a natural thing to do. We've done it on the town hall sites. The natural thing when reporting this story is to say that Joe Biden has stepped off of the Democrats' ticket, and he has decided that he's not going to run for president. But that is technically not true. That is technically not true, because we don't know firsthand from the horse's mouth that that is the case. If you want to really accurately report this story, the way to accurately report it is to say a letter purported to be signed by and approved by Joe Biden was released on Sunday that says that Joe Biden is removing himself from the candidacy for president. That's the accurate thing. And then moments later, he endorses, excuse me. See, I just slipped into it. I slipped into it. Moments later, his social media account on Elon Musk's X platform that is managed by staffers at the White House, that account puts out a post that purportedly has Joe Biden endorsing Kamala Harris. We don't know firsthand that Joe Biden has done this. We also don't know if First Lady Jill Biden is on top of this. Her account, also managed by other people at the White House, reposted Joe Biden's letter, the letter purportedly from Joe Biden, and the First Lady's account on the repost just had a heart emoji, and that's it. And now this is a man who up until just a couple of days ago was saying, what the hell? I got 14 million votes. I'm not going to disenfranchise Democrat voters. I'm sticking with the nomination. I'm the man. I'm in it to win it. And nothing leading up to this at all suggests that this was in the cards. It's curious. Kyle Becker had a great recap here. Joe Biden suddenly resigns via X. White House staff find out a minute later. That's right. The White House staff didn't even know about this. The campaign was still making calls for donors when this happened. Joe Biden resignation letter, not on official letterhead. Biden's signature underlined is suspect. Steve Ricchetti helped write the letter. Let's move on to that now. This is from Jackie Heinrich of Fox News. Ran into Steve Ricchetti tonight as he was getting out of an elevator. I asked her, you okay? Is he okay? Ricchetti says he's okay and said, with a slight nod and a tight smile, kept walking. Ricchetti helped Biden write his withdrawal letter in the overnight hours. So Biden was up. Biden's pulling an all-nighter. Weren't we told that Biden doesn't function well past 4 p.m.? And now he's doing an all-nighter while suffering from COVID? I don't know about you. When I had COVID, I was really tired. I was out of it. Overnight hours, according to the New York Times, Biden did not notify his vice president. He did not notify his campaign manager. He didn't notify his chief of staff until the morning. And the rest of his staff didn't find out until a minute before he posted the letter to social media. Okay? Joe Biden tweets the heart emoji, we're told, but technically, actually, it was just her account that tweeted it. We don't know who actually did it or who approved it. The White House wiped Biden's schedule for the rest of this upcoming week. White House chief of staff called the cabinet and manages the comms. Frank Biden confirms there's a health factor, and then the family suggests Biden may have a terminal illness. Then Joe Biden holds no live press conference. There's no still photograph even of him authorizing this letter. We have not seen the man since he stumbled out of Air Force One and got placed into the SUV. Chief of Staff Zients. Chief of Staff Zients managed the communication across the anxious administration, holding calls Sunday afternoon with the cabinet and senior White House staffers. This is not how these things are supposed to go down, especially when the grown-ups are in charge. These questions all demand answers because none of this is normal. This has literally never happened. They're going to look at Lyndon Baines Johnson. I saw somebody comparing him to George Washington, by the way. When George Washington relinquished control of the Continental Army, can I just stop you for a moment? There's a big difference between Joe Biden and George Washington, and that is leading up to the moments before he relinquished command of the Continental Army after winning the Revolutionary War against King George. George Washington was not saying to everyone around him and to the media, yeah, I plan on being king. I should be king. I just defeated the King of England. I'm in charge of the army. I've got the army. They're under my command. They'll do what I tell them. Of course I'll be king. I'm naming myself king. I'm going to name myself king. And then inexplicably, he relinquished control of the army. No, that's not how it went down, dudes. There's also a big difference with Lyndon Baines Johnson. Lyndon Johnson made this move way early in the year before any of the primaries took place. And he announced it in a live television broadcast to the nation. And he said why. He gave a reason. Lost in this entire story and in this entire letter that we're supposed to believe Joe Biden wrote or at the very least authorized. Lost in all of it is one missing element. Why? In this letter, Joe Biden never says why he's doing this. That seems like a critical element to this story, doesn't it? And where are the journalists? Journalists, last I checked, are supposed to, at the very least, focus on the basics, the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why of a story. And boy, there's a whole lot of W's that are coming up empty on this one. But we're told that we should just believe the regime and move on. One more quick Kamala Harris moment in all of this, if we could.
Our president, Joe Biden, wanted to be here today. He is feeling much better and recovering fast, and he looks forward to getting back on the road. And I wanted to say a few words about our president. Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history. In one term, he has already, yes, you may clap.
This was about an hour ago at the White House where Vice President Harris is conducting official duties at the White House since Joe Biden is incapable of being there due to his health, recovering from COVID. So this is her first big debut, sort of filling in the big guy's shoes. Oh, did I call him the big guy? And she has to have a please clap moment. And then she laughed, which is always good. Kamala, keep being yourself. Just be genuine. Be natural. Laugh as much as you possibly can. It's a winner.